Builders of Sungrave is a roll and write game, dedicated for 1 to 4 players, where you are tasked with building cities for the new settlers and creating the most prosperous town, to achieve a title of the new governor of the Sungrave Island. To play, you will need 7 dice, as well as printed game sheet, and pencil for each player. At the top of the sheet, you can find coat of arms for 6 districts in town of Sungrave. Each district has 4 buildings that you can build. A bit lower, there is a production bay, market, and a warehouse. To the right, settlers section with their skills, dice values and their professions. On the right-hand side, there is a scoring table, under which is action summary. At the bottom of the game sheet, you will also find action grid for 8 rounds, where you will write down dice rolls. First, one of the players rolls 7 dice, and everyone notes the numbers on their game sheet in an action grid, corresponding to a turn that is taking place. You will do that for 7 turns. When you have the numbers written down, you have 5 actions you can take. As the first one of those actions, you can use 1 or 2 numbers and exchange them for resources at the production bay and market down in the warehouse grid. You can use that action as long as you have numbers to spare. If you lack a resource you would like, but the number you need wasn't rolled that turn, you can always use one of the numbers on the action grid to exchange resources on the market, as long as you have resources to exchange. At the cost of 1 number and resources, you can construct a building in a district, corresponding to a number used for that action. When you use this action, you have to build the first available building from the top. If you are the first person to construct the building, and there is no one else who did the same, you color 2 stars next to the building, which give you additional 2 points at the end of the game. If 2 players construct the same building in the same turn, then both of them color only 1 star next to the building, giving them 1 extra point at the end of the game. If the building was already constructed by someone in one of the earlier turns, then there is no extra points for the first construction, but you can still get points for the building at the end of the game. By crossing out 3 numbers you want to use, you can hire settlers to help you. You exchange 1 number for a pair of settlers. And then you have to use 2 numbers to move them to a district you want them in. There are 4 types of settlers that will help you in your construction. Knight's ability lets you change the value to the 1 on the other side of the dice. For example, if you rotate dice that rolled 6, then the number on the opposite side would be 1. Craftsman lets you change the value on 2 dice so that their sum is still the same. For example, from 2 5s you can make a 4 and a 6. Their sum will still be 10. Peasant will change one of the numbers into another one that was rolled this round. Merchant's ability lets you lower or rise value on the 1 of the dice by 1. As you use 6 out of 7 numbers, you have to use the last number to skip a building in a district corresponding to that number, by coloring down the key next to the building. Doing so will allow you to build further into a district, and you can always construct buildings you skipped later. You can do it only once per round. If you still have 2 numbers left, and you don't want to use any of them this turn, you can, once per game, pass them and leave them for the last round. On the last round you don't roll the dice, but you have to write every number that was left in the turns before and use them as your last roll. If you have left 1 additional number, then you have 8 numbers to use. After the last round is over, every player sums up their points for constructed buildings, stars they earned, and amount of citizens settled in a district multiplied by amount of finished buildings in the same district. The person with the biggest amount of points becomes the new governor of the Sungrave Island.